World Jam Global Radio presents
All Because the Lady Loves.
Your World Jam DJs on the night will be Early B spinning the best in future grooves. Also you'll have DJ Mac, DJ Laro from the original Emotion Sound. Also Younger General from Black Mountain Sound. Performing on the night will be Camilla Marcel singing her new single Life. Also we have Sugar Ray performing his latest single Shake It Down. There will be loads of giveaways on the night. Also prizes for the best dressed couple, which will be judged by our professional photographer coming from Cool Vibes Studio. Prizes for the best romantic dancing couple on the night. Of course we have our own judges, which will be the Dirty Rub-Up crew. We'll be checking that out, so look out for that one. On the 14th of February 2018 at the Junction House, 578 Kingston High Road, London, E84AH. Tickets for this Valentine's affair is set at £20 for couples and £15 for singles. Tickets available at the following: 3wsworldjamglobal.com, located on the events page where you can click and purchase your tickets, or on the ticket hotline number of 07802 302450. You can also purchase tickets from any of the World Jam Global DJs performing on the night. Dressed to impress, professional photographers on site all night.
All because the lady loves.
World Jam Global Radio, this is Clarity.
I want to say a big good evening going out to all of our listeners right across the globe tonight. Saturday,
I already did my time. I paid for my
27th of January.
I already did my time. I paid for my
Just gone past the hour of 6 o'clock GMT.
I already did my time. I paid for my crime. I already did my time. I paid for my crime.
And tonight we got a special story for you indeed.
In my time, I paid for my crime. Back in the day, I didn't really care about the system. It was all about survival. It was do or die. I had too many rivals. I was too young and foolish to stay in school. I learned my lessons in the streets.
My guest tonight, Kerry.
Couldn't beat. I was good with my hands.
Kerry D. Bowie.
Women, I had girls.
Gotta get it right, guys.
I was getting money. Life was so sweet.
There's a young man who had a life of potential ahead.
I'm a changed man. Don't need no gun in my hand.
And as God be my witness, he still has.
Too short to spend it all in jail. Trying to cope.
But we're going to be talking about a story that's quite different to what we've done over the years.
Already did my time. I paid for my crime.
Kerry's case is quite particular.
I paid for my crime.
He didn't really spend any time incarcerated or behind bars as such.
Already did my time. I paid for my crime.
But on the evidence of another, he had his life turned absolutely upside down and his career torn to shreds.
My story to you and you. I had to repent. I must admit, I was doing all kind of stupid shit. Now I sit back and think it over since I've gotten older. The life I used to live, I wouldn't do it again. I was young and dumb.
We're going to be talking to him shortly.
Real Forrest Gump, but I was nobody's chump. Me and Billy the Kid had a lot in common. I was the real Terminator, much meaner than Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd chew you up and spit you out like a real alligator, especially all you haters.
The opening statements are going on right now. He could be facing life in...
And on a day where we read in the news here in the UK that every rape case over the years is going to be reopened and reviewed.
Already did my time.
After a whole host of cases have been dropped, trials halted.
My time, paid for my crime. Already did my time.
Because the prosecution's inability to divulge and share
I paid for my crime.
Information and evidence with the defense
I paid for my crime.
That could have impacted the outcome of the case or the trial.
And have the right to vote and live like an ordinary citizen.
I suppose what they're really trying to say is the prosecution is corrupt. They won't say that because they're the media, but I will.
There was not a man I couldn't beat. I was good with my hands and very quick on my feet.
And it's like I said on social media today,
girls all over the street.
Think for everything to be just,
so sweet.
Total disclosure should be the norm and not the exception.
I'm a changed man, don't need no gun in my hand. It ain't about being no gangster. Life is too short to spend it all in jail. Trying to cope with this living hell. Already did my time. I paid for my crime.
Do you know I was
Already did my time.
I was looking at my memories on Facebook, social media recently.
Already did my time. I paid for.
And I realized that so much of my time was taken in
I paid for my crime.
looking at news, depressing news, and obsessed with Trump and his corruption and the Clinton and the Trump campaign and
Superfly, but I never got high on my own supply. I'm not proud of what
I realized that there was very little substance in what I was doing for myself or my family, and
I was doing all kind of stupid shit.
I'm making a conscious decision this year.
But since I've gotten older, the life I used to live, I wouldn't do it again. I was young and dumb, my brain was so numb.
To try and invest some more time in my home and my family.
Me and Billy the Kid,
As passionate as I am about the things that take place around the world,
meaner than Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd chew you up and spit you out like a real.
I want to see more pictures with me and my daughter, me and my wife, me and my sons.
Pay for my crime. Already did my.
And I'll leave all the business stuff on the Issues Today page. That's my thinking for right now.
Already did my time.
The opening statements are going on right now. He could be facing
Yes, we have a right to stand up for what we believe in, but we also got to believe in what we stand up for. And as a family man, I got to make room.
Trying to cope with this living hell.
Don't forget, you can still catch me tomorrow morning on my Wake Up Everybody Sunday Gospel Show. That's where we do church before church right here, live on World Jam Global Radio. But tonight, we're talking to Kerry D. Bowie.
Already did my time. I paid for my crime. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
He'd rather be known as Le Kerry.
And forgive us our trust
So we're going to call him Le Kerry D. Bowie.
against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Don't forget, you can get us on www.worldjamglobalradio.com.
And ever. Amen.
Or if you've got a smartphone, you can tune into the TuneIn app. Find worldjamglobalradio.com.
Pay for my crime.
And you can be in tune live listening to Issues Today on World Jam Global Radio right now.
It ain't about nothing. He who was out sin, let him cast the first stone. I'm trying to get this felony off my back so I can get my life on track and have the right to vote and live like an ordinary citizen again. This is my message to all of my friends in the pen, statewide, worldwide, and put down those knives. Stop stabbing.
As I said, a correction officer caught in the middle of a good deed finds his reputation destroyed, his integrity ruined, his career in bits, and his life forever changed when an inmate's allegation sets him up for a fall. Kerry D. Bowie was the correction officer whose life turned upside down on the allegations of a female inmate and her secret partner. We're going to hear a lot more as I introduce my guest, Le Kerry D. Bowie. Hello, Le Kerry. Hello, Le Kerry. Hello, Le Kerry. Hello, Le Kerry. Le Kerry, are you there, my friend? Hello, Le Kerry. Wow. We'll find him back in a minute.
There is nothing God won't do for you. Trust in His word, He will see you through. All you gotta do is keep the faith. Sitting at home just the other day, I was thinking of how things weren't going my way. Money was gone, my bills were due, but I couldn't see how I'd make it through. But I went to church, it was later that night, so I had to make a sacrifice. But I gave all I had, I gave it to God. Then I heard a word that encouraged my heart, and it said, there is nothing God won't do. God won't do. Trust in His word. Trust in His word. He will see you through. All you gotta do is hold on to His hand. My God will fix it. God will fix it. The Lord will make a way. Sitting at home just the other day, I was thinking of how things weren't going my way. My money was gone, my bills were due, but I couldn't see how I'd make it through. But I went to church, it was later that night. You see, I had to make the ultimate sacrifice. I gave all I had, I gave it to God. Then I heard a word that encouraged my heart, and it said, there is nothing God won't do for you. Trust in His word. Trust in His word. He will see you through. All you gotta do is keep the faith. Hold on to His hand. Hold on to His hand. My God will fix it. God will fix it. The Lord will make a way. The Lord will make a way. but I went to church. It was later that night. You see, I had to make the ultimate sacrifice. I gave all I had. I gave it to God. Then I heard a word that encouraged my heart, and it said, there is nothing God won't do for you. Trust in His word. Trust in His word. He will see you through. All you gotta do is keep the faith. Hold on to His hand. Hold on to His hand. My God will fix it. God will fix it. The Lord will make a way. The Lord will make a way. It's not too hard for my God. It's nothing too hard for my God. I'll put my trust in Him. Oh, my hope is built on nothing.
Hello?
Less.
Hello, are you here?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you cut out after promo.
Yeah, I actually don't realize what happened there, but we lost signal. I lost my internet over here 3 times. But I've been trying to ring you ever since, but you must have been still on the call, so that's why it wasn't coming through to you.
Yeah, I was still on the call. I was waiting to hear the hello.
Right. Okay. Well, I was saying hello, but I think what had happened was because I'd lost my internet, I'd lost my connection with you, so you were still on your connection and I wasn't on mine. But I was almost getting ready to abort the show because I was thinking to myself, we were just not going to connect tonight. But God has a way of making things happen when we don't know and we don't find no way. So let's give glory to God. Thank you for hanging in there and bearing with us. I think the problem is over this side, UK side on the internet. So we've lost stream a couple of times, but that's not a problem. We're still running. We're still live. I'm still here. You're still here. So we still got a show. So
all right.
If you can do me the great honor, LaKerry, of introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about you.
Okay. My name is LaKerry Devon Eric Bowie. I'm 33 years old. I have 4 siblings, 2 older and 1 younger. Older brother, older sister, and another older sister, and 1 younger sister. So I'm kind of like the middleman. I was born and raised in Tyler, Texas.
Wow.
Went to school at Ramey Elementary. Went from there to Hogg Middle School. From there to Robert E. Lee, where I would graduate in 2013. No, I'm sorry, in 2003. After graduation, I enlisted myself into the armed forces. Stayed there for 8 years, and after my 8-year contract, I came back home to Tyler, Texas. My family is very family oriented. We like to do everything together. We're, as far as like holidays and special days like that, we always celebrate them together. We're, like I say, we're real family oriented.
So you're tight.
Yes, very tight. My sisters and my brothers are literally my only friends. I don't really hang out or go out to parties or clubs or drink or smoke or anything like that. My sisters and my brothers are literally my best friends. They know everything about me, and I know everything about them.
Amen.
We was raised by a single mom. My dad was out of the picture for a while. I recently came back in contact with him maybe 4 or 5 years ago, due to circumstances that, as a young age, I had no clue about. I welcomed him in with open dorms, like he never left. But we was raised by a single mom. Love her to death. She's one of the most powerful and strongest women I've ever known to raise 4 kids on her own. I mean, what else can I say? As far as school go, I was always a studious type of kid. More of a scientific, I guess. I would always take my mother's things apart, like her hair dryers and televisions, all kinds of things, and just to see how they work. I remember one Christmas, my mom had just bought her a brand new lawnmower, and I was curious to see how a lawnmower worked and what made a lawnmower work. So maybe about a week later, I was sitting outside in the garage, and I took the entire lawnmower apart. And when she came home and pulled into the driveway, like there's lawnmower pieces everywhere. Yeah, she yelled at me. Screamed at me and told me to put it back together. And 3 days and maybe 6 hours later, I put it all back together, and it ran fine.
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked. So I've always been the type of kid who likes to know how things work. Not, don't just give me something. Explain to me what it is, how it works, and because if not, I'll find out myself anyway.
Inquisitive.
Yeah. Growing up, my friends, besides my sisters and brothers, they were all, I guess you call us nerds. We were very intelligent. We didn't do things like go to the basketball court or play football in my early ages. We did things like sit around and build soapbox cars. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but how you build a race car out of trash, basically.
Yeah. I mean, in the UK, we would have called it go-karts or something like that.
Yeah. We would build those and race them down the street all day long. So my childhood friends were pretty regular kids. It wasn't until I got maybe to my middle school years, teenage years, when I started to play sports. I was outstanding in basketball and football. I actually started to follow behind my older brother around that time. He was the school star, so I had to try to keep up with him. Yeah.
Were you guys competitive growing up, you and your brothers?
Very. We're still competitive to this day. Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, if it's basketball, football, track, playing video games, cleaning house, anything we could get that glory for the moment. We will do. Yeah, we would do.
You said earlier on, LaCarrie, that you also you went into the forces for a while. You went into the army for 8 years. Did you see service?
Yes, I did. I spent time in Iraq, and I spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. I spent 1.5 years in the Bagram Tagab area of Kandahar. And Kandahar and Bagram. And
I take it you saw action?
Yes, plenty of action every day. Every day.
I mean, those of us that are newsbound would have followed that on the news daily, as I did. I remember the first invasion. I kind of slept on my settee it was 24/7 because we had it on 24/7 news, and I watched almost every bomb that they would send. But yeah, I mean, so you sound like a pretty sound guy, very intelligent, very intellectual, very well bred and brought up. Your mother would be proud by what I'm hearing. Her children turned out being a single mom and raising 4 kids this way in the absence of a father. And So your education, your schooling was right. How was you on the streets? I mean, did you ever get into trouble at all? Was you?
Well, the first time I actually ran into a police officer maybe was 2006. I've never been in trouble with the police ever. Like I said, I was one of those kids that was always into my own thing. I never followed a crowd. I never been out in the streets really. If it wasn't taking the trash out, I was never in the street really.
So I mean, you weren't into gangs, you weren't into crime, you weren't into drugs.
No, that's never been appeasing to me. I've never been that guy that had to be socially accepted into those kind of things.
I know you kind of touched a little bit on what you and your mother's relationship was like, especially with the lawnmower. How tight have you and your mother remained throughout these years?
Oh, that's my mother. My mother knows absolutely everything about me. Now, some things my sisters and brothers don't know, but my mother knows absolutely every single thing. That's the only person I've ever told every single thing to. She my right hand. She's definitely my right hand.
So, when you came back from the army, when you came back from tour, you must have had some options, or did you have an idea of what it is that you was going to do or you wanted to do?
Well, after I ETS, my idea was to come home to Tyler, pursue my career in law enforcement, and finish my education.
Okay, and what happened with that?
Well, once I got back and settled back in town, I applied at the Sheriff's Department, Smith County Sheriff's Department here in Tyler, and I got hired, and I worked there. No issues, no problems for years, for about 2.5 years, and I mean, everything was fine. Everything was was just really laid back kind of employment, I guess. Where all the officers that were already there, they were kind of overweight, or they just wasn't athletic, or not athletic, I guess.
So you had to do all the running.
Yeah. I was the new guy, and all the other older officers, they were. I mean, when I say old, I mean in their 50s and 60s. I mean, these people are literally dying every other month. They're that old, and I went to 3 funerals, I believe, in 1 year of our detention officers passing away because of old age, and so it was kind of that environment.
Okay. So, are you as law enforcement and a detention officer? Is that one and the same thing?
A detention officer is like a bridge to law enforcement. Right. If that makes any sense. You have to here in this county, you have to be a detention officer for at least 1 year before you're eligible to even apply to the academy, the police academy.
Okay, so now explain to me what the role of the detention officer is, because I think in layman's terms, I would consider it to be working in a prison or something.
Yeah, it's basically working in a prison with I guess the inmates are not as violent as a prison would be. It's actually a jail. It's actually a county jail.
Right. It's not so much the prison. It's where they remand people while they're waiting for trial, etc., before they go to prison.
Yes, exactly what it is. Okay. And like I say, it's not.
And then I take it you'd escort them to court and bring them back until there was.
Yes, you would escort them to court, escort them to trial if need be. Basically a babysitter, honestly.
Okay.
So pretty much what it was.
Yeah, I mean that's the ballpark version. Tell us what some of the duties, a day-to-day routine of a detention officer.
A day-to-day routine for me, we'll go into briefing at 6 a.m. We would get whatever briefing that's put out from the shift before, and we will be assigned to our stations throughout the jail. And if you were assigned to maybe a medium risk location or a low risk location, you wouldn't leave that area for the entire 8 hours. People will bring your lunch to you, or if you bring your own lunch, you just never left that area. And that's basically all you did was sat, observed, maybe handed request forms if they were needed by the inmate, let certain inmates in and out of the cells if they needed to go to medical or dental or anything like that. But you never really left that cell area until you were relieved by the next incoming shift.
You see, because your county jails are quite different to our station cells here in the UK. We have prisons, but when somebody's arrested here in the UK, they have cells in the local police station that exist of nothing but a mattress and a toilet. That's it. And whichever officers that are on duty that day, I would imagine they have a desk sergeant, and they have people that is their duty for the day is to man those cells.
Yes.
And the only thing that you'd get escorted to is possibly the exercise for 5 minutes, have a cigarette if you smoked. Maybe you might have to see a doctor because they don't do that in the cell. But it's very rare that you come out of your cell when you're in a police station cell. You're just there until you either are given bail or you're going to court. So I would imagine that because you're and there is very little facilities in that place. You don't get to interact or communicate or meet with anybody else that's there unless sign language, and you can tap on the bars, on the pipes that run through the cells, and somebody taps back to you. You don't get to see somebody unless they're walking past your cell and your hatch is open. So it's very rare that you even know who else is there. The whole environment is different. So what I'd like you to do is just explain to us just a little bit about what the facilities of a county jail is like. What does it entail? What does it have? Do they have dining rooms where people sit down, or do they all eat in their cells? Just give us a bit of a description as to what the county jail is like.
Okay. Basically, the county is what you just explained. That you guys have in the UK. We also have those type of cells. They're called side cells, though. They're for the extremely violent or extremely intoxicated person.
Okay.
And so typically you would have maybe 2 huge cells, and each one of those cells will be divided in half on the right side and the left side. It will be 25 beds in that one cell, or that one cell block. It would be 25 beds in that one cell. So there's 25 inmates in one cell. Wow. And on the other side, there's another 25 inmates in that one cell.
Wow.
And
so you're managing around 50 people at a time.
Yes. You're managing 50 people at a time.
All wanting to go to the toilet, all wanting to do a bit of exercise, all wanting to go out for cigarettes, and so you're in turn.
Well, the shower and the toilets are inside the cells already.
Right.
There's no reason for the inmate to have to come out of their cell unless they were going to get their dinner or lunch or breakfast, or if they were called by medical or visitation.
Okay.
That's the only reason they will be out of their cells.
And these are for individuals that are currently on remand, charged but not yet found guilty, right? Or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's slightly different to what we have over here. So that's given us a really good understanding. And in these 2 cells that we have with 25 beds in each, is it same sex? Is it mixed sex? What's the makeups?
No, they're all same sex.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the same sex occupies one end of the entire jail, and the opposite sex occupies the other end of the entire
All right,
jail.
so you've got 2 parts of 25 that are all male, and then you've got on the other side of the jail, you've got another 2 parts of 25 that would be like all females.
Yes.
Wow. That's huge. Okay. So if you was on duty, would you be managing both, or would you just be one or the other?
A male would only manage male inmates.
Okay.
Now, a female can manage both male and female, but a male can only manage other male inmates.
Okay, now we're beginning to get the picture. So you're now working in this environment, and you had been for 2 years or so. You said 2.5 years.
Yes, sir.
Without any issue, moving along comfortably. Were you enjoying the job? Was it what you expected it to be?
It was not what I expected it to be. I mean, but I did enjoy it because I mean that wasn't my career. You know, to me it was a stepping stone for me to get to my career.
Well, when we're learning in our career, there are things that we're learning that, and as we're doing them, we embrace it because we acknowledge where it's taking us to. So
yes.
And you were doing well in that. Did you come under a supervisor who'd be responsible for your development?
Yes. My trainer. My trainer was she was a pretty excellent trainer, pretty thorough. She taught me pretty much everything I needed to know within the jail system. Now every year we have a choice to change shifts. There's 3 shifts: the morning, afternoon, and the overnight shift.
Okay.
Now each one of those shifts have different people in command.
Right.
Now, some of those people that's in command had been there for years, and they're set in their ways. Mm-hmm. For instance, I had one male inmate to fall off of his bunk and had a seizure, and me, being young and enthusiastic, I jump out of my seat and run to the cage, open the cage to see what's wrong. While the other officers who've been there for years, they just sat in their seats and just watched the man. Didn't offer any backup or anything. Just
right.
They sat and watched him like it's a normal thing to do. And so I guess they looked at me like, oh well, since he's up, helping this guy or such and such, it makes us look like we're not doing our job, which they wasn't. But it just shines a light on what they're not doing that they're supposed to be doing.
We kind of see that coming across in every workplace. If you are good at what you do, you'll always show up the shortcomings of those who just plod along with no passion or commitment to the job. So, when you would be supervising these potential convicts, so to speak, because we can't call them convicts yet because they've not been convicted; they're still waiting for trial. Mm-hmm. Did you have to manage groups of them? Was it always just individuals, one at a time, or did you?
No, it was never one at a time. Never one at a time. There's always, like I said, there's always 25 to 30 to if not a full capacity, 50 inmates you have to manage at every day. There's never one.
And I suppose what I mean by that is, for example, if they were going for a meal, would it be one at a time would they go, or would they all be let out to go and get their food together?
Yeah, they would all be let out together.
Then you'd supervise them to the place where they would go and get their food, and then you'd supervise them back to the cell, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's what 2-3 times a day.
Yes.
And so I suppose in that time now you'd start to develop some relationships with those that were there a bit longer than others. You got to knew those that were likely to cause trouble, or and those that were,
Yes, you're exactly right.
Okay, and then as you were going through this development with your trainer, I would imagine that your progress would be reviewed at regular intervals.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And would they share these reviews with you? So like, you've sat down, you've had the review, you've gone through all the paperwork. Would they give you a feedback as to how well they think that you've developed in this last period since they last did a review on your development?
Yes, we would have what is called a trainer's manual that we would actually keep. Our supervisor, or not supervisor, but our trainer would mark what our weaknesses, our strengths, and what we need to work on, and we would get it back, read it, and adjust.
Okay, or sign it off.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you was in that 2.5 years, as you was looking through your development, what was, if there were any failings, and I'm not saying that they are, what was highlighted that you needed to brush up on, so to speak?
I believe it was more of checking side sales. What we call side sales are the single sales that you were explaining you guys have in the UK.
Yeah.
It would be more of checking those side sales more frequently, or more catwalks, or checking the catwalk. What a catwalk is, it's a long hallway that goes around the entire jail, but you can see in every single cell as you walk around.
Right. The parameter.
Yeah, the perimeter, that kind of thing. Other than that,
so for all intents and purposes, your development was, and your progress was going according to plan. There was no hiccups. There was no snake bites waiting around the corner. Your trainer was happy with your progress. There's a couple of things that you needed to tighten up on, but that's in the real context of things, that's no biggie. You'd get to there at some point. But your progress was great, and you was heading towards the position that you were training for.
Yes. I actually the training only lasts I want to say 6 months. After 6 months, you go to your jail. You go to what's called jail school,
right?
And you obtain your jailer's license. So all the training you're doing is basically building you up for this training license. Yeah.
Did you happen to attain your training license?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's good. Now, here's the thing, Lakari.
Mm-hmm.
Everything seems to be going perfectly well. It's your chosen career. You're not in the best part that you want to be in, but it's a part that you've got to fulfill in order for you to get to where you want to go to. But even that's going well. There's no real hiccups here. Yes, you're working with some old men who are probably dying off quicker than a daffodil in a field, but at the end of the day, it still is what it is. You've kind of spent a time now mastering that. You know the location. You know the facilities. You know the resources. You are well up to speed with the protocol of the process and procedures. And so now, on a given day, I want you to take me to the moment that or lead me through, so to speak, the day as it was, that was to turn your life and your job upside down.
Okay. Well, it was September 5th, 2011. It was Labor Day, as a matter of fact. A male trustee came to me and he asked.
Now, I need you to. I will stop you every now and again.
Fine.
Can you just explain to our audience what is the difference between an ordinary jail person and a trustee?
Okay, an ordinary inmate does not leave their cell for any reason other than food, visitation, or medical or dental purposes, or to be transferred. Now, trustee is an inmate who showed less violence or no violence at all. What they're allowed to do is to clean the jail, the jail, the floors, empty the trash, basically maintenance.
Right.
Yeah. Sweep the floors, wax the floors, empty the trash, wash dishes, wash clothes if need be. Basically just household things.
Okay, so how long would an inmate have to be there before he can be considered to be a trustee? Is there a period of time, or is it just?
Well, with that's a tricky question, because like I was explaining earlier, there's some leadership or sergeants who would give an inmate trustee status as soon as they got to jail. Maybe they knew him before. Maybe they knew, some sergeants would do it, but some inmates would have to wait 3 to 6 months to even be considered as a trustee.
Okay, so I get it now. So in our prisons here in the UK, we have various different jobs that can be done. And what you would have on the floors in the wings, you might have somebody on level 3 or level 1. That's he's a house guy, so to speak. So he gets let out early. He's cleaning the landings. He's almost given a free pass to most places, apart from the secure areas.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so now talk me through. So you've got this trustee.
Yeah, I got this trustee. He's coming up the hallway as I'm coming down the hallway. He's headed east and I'm headed west. And there was another officer in front of me also heading west. He didn't stop that officer. He let that officer pass by him, or he passed by that officer, and he came directly to me and asked me if I could open the kitchen door so he can get what we call setups. Setups are basically linen for the incoming inmates.
Okay.
Now the kitchen. When I say the kitchen door is the access to everything. It's the access to the kitchen, the access to the laundry room, and it's access to the laundry room closet and the back door of the jail.
Okay.
So that's the main door that I will be speaking about today. So after he asked me if I could open the door for him to get these uniforms, I told him specifically to knock on the door or knock on the tray window.
Well, is that because you were on your way to do something else?
Yes, I was on my way to do something else when he stopped me.
So, just correct me or guide me if you can. Would an officer be expected to stay with him even though he's trusted, or because he's trusted, would that be something that would be permissible to just allow him to go ahead and do what he was doing?
Well, as far as sweeping the floors, that's really no big issue because all of the doors stay open, so we can see him at any time.
Okay.
Now, going into the kitchen area is required by another officer because there's female inmates in the kitchen area.
Okay.
Now, he would have no reason to go into the kitchen area, period. He would have to knock on the door, tell whoever's in the kitchen to give him what he needed, and they would slide it through what we called the tray window.
Okay.
The tray window. The male inmates and the female inmates are never allowed to see each other, never allowed to communicate with each other. So at that tray window, whoever is in the kitchen, they take the items and push it through the window, so there's no contact at all. And whoever's on the outside of the window just grab whatever it is they're taking and go about their business.
Now, was that a common practice? Is that how it was done most of the time, all of the time, or just some of the time?
That's how it was done all of the time.
Okay. So unless he needed access into the kitchen, there would have been no reason for you to stay with him or go with him.
Exactly.
Right, so he just needed to get some stuff to clean or to change the linen. So you advised him to knock and then just ask for what he wanted, and then he can go about his business.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay.
I told him to knock on the door and tell whatever trustee is in the kitchen area to get you what you need, put and send it out through the tray window. He said he told me that he had already been knocking on the door for at least 5 minutes. And so when he told me that, I went down to the door and knocked on it myself. And nobody came to the door, nobody came to the window, nobody did anything. And so at that point in time, me and the trustee walked up to the center picket. Now the center picket is the control room for the entire jail.
Okay.
It has the monitors for the cameras in the jailhouse. It also houses the keys to the front door and the master key to the kitchen and all the closet areas within the jail.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that every jailer has that master key on their cell key ring.
Okay.
So when we went to the center picket to get the key, I asked Officer Ruffin. She's a senior officer. Had been there for 7 years had been there for 6 years when I got there. And I asked her, since it was around visitation time, which is at 1 o'clock. When I walked into the center picket, it was around maybe 12:20. And I asked Officer Ruffin, hey, what time are you going to start visitation? Normally it starts at 12:45, but it depends on what officer is running visitation and when they want to start.
Okay.
I grabbed the keys from the lockbox and told Officer Ruffin I'll be right back. That I was going to let that trustee in to get linen from the kitchen area. And so when I left out, we walked back down to the kitchen area. I knocked on the door again just to make sure, and nobody came. So when I unlocked the door, I let the trustee go in first. And as he was walking through the kitchen, now keep in mind it's a cafeteria style kitchen,
okay,
so it's pretty big. As he crossed the kitchen floor, maybe right in the middle, that's when the female inmate came around the corner from the laundry room. Now at that point, when I saw her, I stopped the male trustee, and I stopped the female trustee.
And that's because, as you said, that none of them are allowed to come into contact with each other.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so when I walked into the kitchen. I stood in between both of them. I told the male inmate to hand me the list of items you need from the laundry room, and I gave it to her. I gave it to the female inmate. I had the male inmate to go back out and stand in the hallway. Mm-hmm. Now, as I'm talking and giving these orders, the female inmate is looking at me, but also looking past me.
Okay.
And the male inmate is doing the same thing, looking at me while I'm talking, but looking past me at the female inmate. So I had to get a little, had to get a little authoritative, and kind of get him out of the kitchen. And so when he turned around to go, he had like an attitude, like he knew this person or something, like he personally knew her.
Right.
Like I said, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on at that point of time. And when he stomped out of the kitchen area, he walked toward the west end of the jail. Now, she has the list. She's reading the list of things that the male trustee needs. She goes back into the laundry room area. I leave out of the kitchen, close the door. The door locks behind me. You can't get into it without a key, or unless somebody opened it from the inside. And after I closed the door, I went back up to the front of the jail, to the center picket, where Officer Ruffin was. After that, we started visitation. Normal day.
Okay. So now you start visitation. Job's done. You've got the stuff for the trustee to go and change the linen. Did you give it to him?
She slid it out of the window, out of the tray window.
Okay, he got it and then he went upon his way.
Yeah, he went on.
Okay, so job done. Yeah, job done. In your opinion,
I
job
will say
done.
one thing. We'll say one thing. We can't leave, or we were not allowed to leave until our activity logs would have to be turned in to the sergeant. Now, the activity log is basically everything you've done throughout that day.
Okay. And in your activity log, had you logged this transaction, this thing that had taken place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I logged everything.
Okay.
Everything, every hour that I done, I would log in that activity log.
Okay. So you go and hand in your activity log.
Mm-hmm.
What happens next?
Well, the problem with that is the sergeant didn't want us to leave our post to turn the activity logs in. So she would have the floor trustees, the same guy who came to get the linen, to go around to all the stations and pick up the activity logs and turn them in to her.
Is that not a conflict of interest?
Exactly.
Because
exactly.
Does the trustee not now know what's written in there? Can he not read it on his way?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
Yes, they can. Now, in the policy, in the Smith County Sheriff Department policy, inmates, doesn't matter what kind, trustee, regular, no inmate should have access to government documents,
Absolutely.
which would be an activity log.
Absolutely.
And, right. Now, like I said, some of these sergeants, some of these people, some of this leadership are so comfortable with these inmates, or that they let them do this kind of stuff. So she got all the activity logs that day because we were all released. Everything was fine. She got all the activity logs. Everybody was released when the next shift came on. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that that inmate couldn't have got that activity log and read it before she even got it.
Mm-hmm. But obviously, definitely had plenty of time, and more importantly, as it was the same trustee that seemed to have had the issue, he may well have made a point of reading yours just to see if you entered anything that would
logged. Yep. Well, the funny thing about it is that activity log from that day was never found. It was never found. It was given to the sergeant on that day, but after that day, that activity log was never found again. To this day, no one knows where it is.
Wow.
Now the following day was just a normal day. It was a normal day, through and through. No issues. No nothing out of the ordinary. The problem came in on so I was off on Wednesday and Thursday. So the incident that was supposed to occurred happened on a Monday. The next day was a normal day. That Wednesday and Thursday I was off. Okay. So Thursday night, I get a call from Smith County Sheriff Department's investigators, and they call and say, "Hey, we need you to come down to the Sheriff Department. We need to speak with you about an issue." At this point in time, I'm in class, so when I get out of class around 9 p.m., I go to my voice message, listen to what they said, and I called them back and told them, "Hey, I'm on my way." So when I get down to the Sheriff Department, I'm greeted by a Texas Ranger by the name of Brent Davis, and then a Smith County investigator by the name of what's his name? Fight. Last name is Fight. So they take me into the interview room, and they began to Brent Davis began to read me my rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and will be used against you. The whole Miranda's rights. And he basically at the end he's like, "Do you understand your rights? Nobody's arresting you. You're not under arrest, but we have to read you your rights so you'll know."
But at that point, you had no knowledge of what they were going to converse with you about.
Nothing at all.
Okay.
Nothing at all. And so he asked me if I knew a woman or an inmate by the name of Linda Warren. And I told him no. I don't know anybody by the name. I don't know any inmates. Especially nobody named Linda Warren. Especially if it was a female, as a matter of fact. Because like I said, we don't deal with female inmates at all.
Yeah.
So at that time, he began to tell me, a female trustee, Linda Warren, made an accusation that you and her had unprotected sex for 30 minutes in the laundry room closet area on September 5th. And my first thought was, stop, like it's a joke. Like, what am I really here for? And he was like, this is what she said. He pulled out her report. He pulled out, so many statements from Linda Warren and Lawrence Manning. Lawrence Manning is a trustee who needed to get the linen out of the closet.
Okay.
And basically, Brent Davis said that when he asked her about the allegation, she denied it several times. Then she said that. Then he said that I came to him.
So 1 second. What was the original allegation? Because you said that she denied the allegation several times. What was the original allegation?
That me and her had sexual intercourse.
Okay.
In the lunchroom closet.
And who had made the allegation?
She had went and told other female inmates within her cell.
Okay.
One of those inmates, by the name of Debbie Kemp, she told the sergeant that's what she had heard from Linda Warren.
Okay, I'm with you now. Okay, so let's go back to her now. So she'd denied it several times, and then
she denied it several times. Brent Davis told her that I came to him. Or came to the investigators and told them that I had made a mistake, that I had sex with a female inmate. And then she was like,
"But you hadn't said that."
Right. I was off. I was off work those days, I guess. I hadn't talked to anybody except for this Thursday, that Thursday night when they called. And so that's when she started to agree with what the investigator was saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's when I guess that's when she went into her little detail mode of how things supposed to happen. Now, what she told the investigator was that Officer Bowie came to the kitchen area that he opened the door with a key. He was alone. He didn't say anything to me when he walked in the door. He walked to the laundry room closet. I followed him. We went into the laundry room closet. It was dark, and we had sex, unprotected sex, but he didn't touch me anywhere else. He didn't take my clothes off. She didn't touch me. You know, the story just didn't make any sense at all. Didn't make any sense at all. But that's what she said. How things happened. When they asked her, well, did he ejaculate during the intercourse? She replied, yes. They asked where, and if he did ejaculate, how did you see it if it was dark? She said that I ejaculated on a bumblebee uniform, which will be a trustee uniform, and all over the floor in the laundry room closet. They asked her, where is the uniforms that he ejaculated on? She said that she washed them. Yeah.
So now there's no evidence to prove that she was telling the truth, or you were telling the truth.
Well, the thing is, even if you wash the uniforms and there's semen on clothes or anything,
you should be able to.
You should be able to find whatever you're looking for in the filter of the washing machine.
Yep, that's very true.
Yeah, too easy. So, that was her statement. My response to what he was saying was, no, this is not what happened. I explained to him what happened when me and the male trustee went in, and she came out of the laundry room closet. And then he came to me. He said the investigator came to me and said, well, that very trustee wrote a statement saying that me and him had a conversation about having sex in the laundry room area. And I specifically looked at the investigator and asked him what inmate in their right mind would even mention something like this to an officer. And he was like, well, an officer who's friendly, an officer who he inmate thinks he can confide in. I said, even that, even an officer that's like that, an inmate wouldn't go to about having sex in the kitchen of the jail or the laundry room area. It just didn't make no sense.
All of his perks would be removed. Why would he?
Exactly. And then after that, he stated that the male trustee said that he watched me and this female inmate have sex. You watched us do this now. So if you watched this, why wasn't you on your way to the sergeant's office to let her know at the time?
Yeah. And once you're inside, you obviously have access to open the door and come out, right? Because you can only open it from the inside.
Exactly.
So there was nothing holding you there. You didn't have to stay there. And why would you stay there watching somebody else have sex that you couldn't participate in? That just wouldn't make no sense either, unless you were going to be allowed to join in at some point.
Mm-hmm. So these are all the statements that's being read to me by the investigator. I'm telling the investigator, no, none of this happened. It doesn't even make sense. Like, I mean, you're an investigator. You can put two and two together. It doesn't make sense. And so what they did from there is they asked me for if I would take a DNA test and a polygraph test. I told them gladly. At the time, they didn't have the polygraph test set up. But you knew as an investigator that you were going to ask for a polygraph test, but you didn't have it set up. So they took my DNA sample, and they also Brent Davis actually told me that they did a rape kit on the female inmate on Wednesday. Not Wednesday, Tuesday, when the allegation first came out. They had her. They took her to the hospital. They done a rape kit on her, and whatever samples would be compared to my DNA. So I gave him a DNA sample, and I told them that we could take a polygraph test whenever they're ready. After that conversation, I was released. I was put on administrative leave for a week. And so when I left the sheriff's department, I called my older sister. Because like I said, I didn't know what was going on at the time. I've never dealt with anything like this before. So I called my older sister to ask her for advice. Or what did she think I needed to do? And she told me to call my uncle Ben. He's Benjamin Hartsfield. He's a lawyer in Houston. And after explaining what they told me to him, he told me to retain a lawyer because they were trying to build a criminal case against you,
right?
Against me. And so I did that. Got a lawyer, explained to him what happened, what was going on. And what he told me, he said, "You are now I'm representing you. You are no longer to make contact with anyone from the sheriff department. They will go through him." Okay. So at that time, I get a call.
You retained a lawyer. The lawyer that you retained, was he by recommendation from somebody, or did you just find somebody local?
No. The lawyer I retained was my uncle Ben from Houston.
Okay.
So after that conversation with him, a week later, the investigators came to my school. They came to my school and pulled me out of class to tell me to be in the chief's office the next morning at 8 a.m. And I told them, okay, it's not a problem. So the next morning at 8 a.m., I go down to the sheriff department. I meet the chief, the captain, and the lieutenant in the sheriff's office. We go up to the second floor to the chief's office. We sit at a round table. Me sitting in the front of the table, the chief sitting to the right of me, the lieutenant sitting on the left of me, and the captain sitting across from me. Each one of these officers are staring me down. The chief says he was told by his investigators that I refused a polygraph test. Mind you, I hadn't talked to anybody since that Thursday night. I hadn't talked to any Smith County official since that Thursday night I was released.
But here's the thing, LeCarey, do they not record all interviews?
They said they do. They said they do.
But this interview wasn't recorded.
Honestly, I don't know if it was or not.
Because if the interview was recorded, then proof and evidence of whether or not you were even asked the questions would exist.
Exactly. But my thing is, they have the DNA sample. So obviously, if you ask for a DNA sample, you're going to ask for a polygraph test as well. So you have the DNA sample, you had to ask for the polygraph test. And if I gave you a DNA sample, why wouldn't I give you a polygraph test?
No, absolutely.
So I explained to the chief that I happily accepted the polygraph test. They just didn't have it set up at the time. If they spoke with anybody else, it was my lawyer. Now, my lawyer told me, if they have a DNA test, there's no reason for a polygraph test. No reason. Because if the DNA don't
DNA don't match, then there's...
the DNA is going to tell you yay or nay. That's it. And so this is what my chief told me verbatim. He looked at me and he said, are you going to take a polygraph test? Now, the tone of his voice is what kind of got me, got a red flag coming up.
Did you ever get the results of the DNA?
Yes, I did.
And what did the results say?
The DNA test results were negative.
Okay, so bam, that's a home run.
Yeah, DNA test results were negative. Also, the crime scene investigation evidence, the semen on the floor, came back negative.
Wow.
Everything that they thought they had came back negative. Everything.
Boom. Another home run.
Not only that, the security footage in the jail. At first, the investigator told me that the cameras were inoperable. That's the first thing I asked him. I said, did you check the camera footage? He said the cameras were inoperable at the time. So you don't have no video camera, no video coverage in the entire jail. Anything could have been going on. You don't have no DNA. You don't have no crime scene investigation samples to match me at all.
So the question has to be, why are you still under investigation?
Exactly. So the chief, Chief Bobby Gorman, he looked at me and he asked me, "Are you going to take a polygraph test?" I said, "Well, let me call my lawyer and see what he says." He said, Chief Gorman specifically looked at me and said, "This is not between us and your lawyer. This is between you and us. So basically, your lawyer doesn't matter," is what he said. What he's telling me. Either you're going to take the polygraph test, or there's going to be consequences, basically.
Well, the bottom line is you're now under investigation. You've retained a lawyer, and everything needs to be done legitimately and above board. And now they're trying to bulldoze you into a position that you can't come out of, and then they're going to judge you on that.
There you go. And so I specifically told Chief, I said, "Chief, I will not be taking a polygraph test." He said, "Well, at this time, you're fired for failure to cooperate with an internal investigation. Turn in your badge, turn in your uniforms." So when they say that I wasn't being compliant in the investigation, no, I wasn't going to be bullied into giving you what you want when you have enough.
You have everything you need.
Everything you need. Now at that time, that's when all the radio, the news, the newspaper, all of that came out, saying, "Oh, detention officer, Bowie, caught having sex with a female inmate." This is everywhere. It's plastered everywhere. News, internet.
Okay, so let me just rewind the clock a minute. When you was asked to do the polygraph there and then, although your lawyer was not present and you wasn't represented, right? Did any part of you just think, "Oh well, come on, just do it. Let's get it over and done with"?
Yes, I was willing to do the polygraph test right then. The thing that changed my mind was the tone of his voice, that he was going to make me do it.
Okay. Well, in that case, you would have been within your rights to have not moved forward unless you had a witness and representation there to make sure everything else was being done above board.
Exactly. See, they're not a trustworthy bunch, anyway. They're not the sheriff department is not a trustworthy bunch of people, anyway. So I mean, I wouldn't have felt completely comfortable without my lawyer being there anyway. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, my lawyer didn't say he didn't want me to take the polygraph test. He just wanted to be present. That's all. They didn't want him present.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't want him present. But after that, it took us, me and my lawyer, like 3 to 4 or 5 months to even get a discovery packet and the evidence that the sheriff department supposedly had. And there was no cooperation, none. There was no cooperation with the sheriff department, no cooperation with the DA, no cooperation with the judge. None of it. Wow. So we had to fight, kick, and scratch to build our case. Now, on March 3rd was my arraignment. When I went to my arraignment, they arrested me. They arrested me and walked me down from the courthouse to the jail, to the same jail that I worked in. And from there, now mind you, they arrested me and I was never read my rights, never. They shipped me off to another county for maybe a week. My bail was posted at $100,000. $100,000 is thieves and robbers and murderers whose bail is less than $100,000. I've seen them personally, and so I feel like, or I felt like, still feel like it was nothing more than just setting an example.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's making sense.
Mm-hmm. And so when we get ready for trial, a couple of things happen. Linda Warren, this is a female trustee.
Correct.
All the list of witnesses that the sheriff department has, maybe 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 7 are female inmates that I've never seen, never spoke to, don't know anything about them. Now, Linda Warren, when she was released, she went and got another lawyer to sue Smith County for violation of civil rights. Before the trial even started.
And what was the violation? You sexually assaulting her?
No, it's not even that, because the thing is, they could have filed sexual assault. But by her saying that she consented to us, quote unquote, having sex, they had to change, I guess, change the wording around.
So in other words, you were in breach of your authority, or you abusing your authority and your position.
Something like that.
Taking advantage of a vulnerable individual.
So she sent a memorandum to the sheriff department letting them know that they will be sued for violation of civil rights. Now, mind you, trial hadn't even started yet. So how do you sue somebody or sue anybody, and you haven't got a verdict? And so the DA tried to put it, tried to bring it to us as, this is just a preemptive and I guess preemptive strike.
Okay.
From her, this, that, and the other. No, what that was is the system's already set up. You already know what the verdict is going to be before the trial even start.
Well, let's stop there for a second. I just want to round up a couple of things. In all of this time, your past conduct, your past record, your development program, your trainer, all the information that we talked about at the beginning of the show, did none of that come into play?
Oh, the judge and the DA would not let my lawyer, would not let anyone bring my military records into the courtroom, would not bring my jailer service into the courtroom. All he wanted to see was a person. No accomplishments, no nothing. This is just a dry person. That's it. And the judge allowed it.
So, look, Kerry, tell me something. Surely at some point you must have said to yourself, this is all garbage, just going to go away anytime soon because they're going to see the truth.
Yes. I solely thought that after we got the DNA and the CSI results.
At what point did you realize, or did it sort of like set upon you that, hang on a minute, somebody's trying to set me up here?
It didn't dawn on me until I talked to the investigators the first time that something was fishy. Something was set up here. Oh, not to mention, I forgot to tell you that the letters that we found in the female inmate's possession and the male inmate's possession, writing back and forth to each other in the jail prior to this incident.
So now we also have evidence that there was a commonality, a relationship, a knowing of. Is there anything to suggest that anything was going on between that two apart from just contact and?
Oh yeah. I mean, they would say explicit things to each other about what they were doing in their cells, thinking about each other. So all kind of
was any of that brought forward into the court?
It was not allowed.
So
any evidence that we had, that the defense had, was not allowed.
Under what grounds? Under whose order?
The DA. Every time my lawyer would hint of a good deed or something like my military background or my service or my education, objection. Anytime my lawyer would bring the fact that these two inmates had been conversing in sexual manner prior to this incident, objection. Every time that judge would take the side of the DA. Every single time.
Do you think that there were officers, correction officers, at your place of work that was aware that those two were engaged in a relationship?
Honestly, no. I don't think so. Like I said, we rarely talk to these inmates. We rarely engage in conversation with the inmates. So I don't think any officer just knew what was going on. But I will say this: the lady in the center picket, the officer in the center picket, Miss Ruffin, Officer Ruffin. I spoke about her earlier.
Yes.
4 days, which would have been a Friday. 4 days after this alleged incident, the investigators interviewed Officer Ruffin, and she also wrote a written statement, sworn statement. What she said was that Officer Bowie came into the center picket. He got the keys to the kitchen, and she thought to herself, "What is Officer Bowie doing with the keys this early?" Now, mind you, these are the same keys that open up the front door of visitation. Right. And she said, at that time, she began to look up at the monitors on the camera monitors. And then she said when she looked at the camera monitors, I was walking out of the kitchen, and the female trustee was in the washroom folding clothes. And I came out and went to visitation. Now the investigator asked her, was that my type of female to engage in? And Officer Ruffin was like, no, because he's really picky. He has to, the females he engaged with have to be highly educated. They have to have some kind of standards to them. Okay. And Now, that the investigator asked her, did she see anybody in the area, any trustees in the area when she saw me come out of the kitchen? And she said no, which was true because I had Lawrence Manning to step outside the kitchen.
Correct. Yes, I remember.
And so that was pretty much it on that statement. Now,
do you think she could have said more to clarify it, or do you think what she said hindered your defense?
No, what she said in that statement was absolutely correct. They asked her, is it normal for officers to go in and out of the kitchen daily? And her answer was yes, which it is. It's normal for officers to go in and out of the kitchen every day. Now, the thing is about her statement is when she got on the stand, it was completely opposite. On the stand, she stated that I came in, I got the keys. At that point, she started to watch the cameras. She don't know what time I went into the kitchen, but she saw me when I came out of the kitchen. And I was trying to ease the door closed. Now, the kitchen door is made of steel. Mm-hmm. So it's very loud when you close it. She said that I was trying to ease the door closed. And that when I came out of the kitchen, she knew I had did it.
Wow.
This is what she said on the stand. Now, this is a whole year later. But 4 days prior to the alleged incident, you didn't know anything.
So was she cross-examined on that?
When my lawyer got up to cross-examine her, all he said was this, that this is not the same person I talked to before. Now, mind you, we have the statement in hand and the video surveillance, the video camera, the video statement that contradicts every word that came out of her mouth.
I get that, but for me, what I would struggle with right now, to be honest with you, Lakari, is that there wasn't a more vigorous cross-examining of her testimony in court in comparison to her statement 4 days after the event.
Exactly.
There should have been a more vigorous cross-examining and asking, well, which one's the truth? Well, did you see it or didn't you see it? And how come you can state this after 4 days as the truth, and a year later you remember it differently? How does that happen? Does your memory improve after time? Are you some unique computerized machine that enhances its memory and can go back and visualize things that you missed the first? I don't know, but for me, I just felt that there should have been a bit more vigorous of a cross-examining.
Exactly. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. My lawyer did not perform. He did not perform. It is a lot of things.
And was that still your uncle?
Yeah, that's my uncle.
Okay,
that's my uncle.
Was he experienced in criminal attorney law, or was that
He's been practicing law for maybe 15 years.
Okay, so he should have known better, really.
Yes, he should have known better. Thing is, the trial lasted 4 days. The first 2 days he was on point. The second 2 days, I didn't even know who he was, honestly. Wow. I don't know if the DA got to him. I don't know if the judge got to him. Something happened between
the first
second
2 days.
Day and the third day.
Yeah.
Something happened.
So okay, so now she's given her evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Take me through what happens next.
So Officer Ruffin gives her statement. After that, they start to put these female inmates, on the stand. Now they put 4 female inmates on the stand that I've never seen before. Each one of these female inmates stated the exact same thing, word from word. Every question that was given from the DA was answered the exact same way for all four people.
Rehearsed.
All four. They were cross-examined, and when they were asked, one of the questions were, is Officer Bowie flirtatious? Or have you known of Officer Bowie ever being flirtatious? Well, I've heard of him being flirtatious. Now, when they were cross-examined, my lawyer asked, okay, have you ever seen Officer Bowie being flirtatious to any inmates or officers? The answer was no. Have Officer Bowie ever been flirtatious to you personally?
No.
The answer was no.
So, did they confirm where they had heard this from?
They heard it from Linda Warren. Everything came from Linda Warren. A bunch of hearsay came from Linda Warren. It wasn't 2 or 3 inmates who said, "Oh, we heard this from different people." It all came from Linda Warren.
So you begin to wonder. You begin to ask the question: What was the gameplay? What was the purpose?
The purpose, I believe, was this. Because after the interviews and investigation and before the trial, all these inmates, Lawrence Manning, Linda Warren, the four female inmates that testified, they were all released with their charges dropped. All of them.
It's pretty hard to, it's hard to consume and absorb this, because they've set about to ruin the reputation and the career, right, of an individual who's caused them no harm, is a credit to the service and the country. For what?
That's what I want to know. That's what I mean. 7 years I've been trying to figure this out. 7 years.
The question you have to ask yourself is, who did you actually upset and how?
It would all lead back to one person, and that would be Bobby Gorman, the chief the chief of the sheriff department. He's the only person who would have the power to synchronize everything, the release of inmates, just everything. He would be the only person to have power to authorize any of this stuff.
And was there an issue with you and this officer? This
the chief?
The chief.
No issue at all. The only issue was when I told him that I would not take a polygraph, that he would not bully me into taking a polygraph test. That's it. That's the only issue. That's the only time I've ever spoken to this man.
And so at that point is the definitive point where they decide, well, if he's not going to do this, we're going to just stitch him up anyway.
There you go.
Wow. How has this affected you?
Okay. Well. Very, very tremendously. Very tremendously. I lost my fiance behind this, because it would imply, my conviction would imply that I cheated on her.
Yeah.
Number one.
So did she not believe you over this false and set up allegation? And
oh yeah, she believed me. She believed me, but it's one thing to believe what somebody's saying, and then another thing to get a verdict that says otherwise.
And this is the thing with wrongful convictions, is that once the verdict comes out against you, it is so hard to turn around the mindsets of those who believe in the justice system.
Exactly. So I've lost my fiance behind it. I lost my house, my assets, of course, job and money, finances. I have a 10-year-old son that I've been struggling to, take care of. I've been denied access to further education. Like right now, I have a bachelor's degree in science, and my goal is to become a cardiac surgeon. But I cannot get into a pre-med program with a felony on my record. I've been declined licenses from the state of Texas. I mean, at this point, I'm living on the couch of my older brother, working as a labor roofer for a company in Dallas. I have no place of my own. I barely have money for food, gas, and to do what I can for my son. It's destroyed every aspect of my life. Period.
And how do you see that changing going forward? What do you see as your goal going forward? Are you going to continue to fight against this conviction to try and overturn it somehow, or are you just going to take that and just try and rebuild your life?
No. My goal is to fight to the last breath. There's one thing that was taught by my mother is you never ever give in or admit to something that you did not do. You never take credit for something you did not do. So, and I refuse to take credit for something that I didn't do.
Okay, so what was the outcome of the trial and conviction and verdict?
I was found guilty, and I was sentenced to 24 months probation. No restitution. No. I didn't have to register as a sex offender. That was just it, plain and simple. 2 years probation and community service. 200 hours of community service. That's it.
And a ruined career.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and a ruined life and career.
Okay, so you say that your plan is to fight this. So what's the strategy in fighting this? How are you going forward with this?
Well, I've written to numerous Innocence Projects, Innocence Projects of Texas, the Innocence Project of, the actual Innocence Clinic of Austin, Texas. I'm steady just reaching out to people that I can get information from. I've been speaking with a former police chief of Idaho, Jerry Summers, great guy.
I know Jerry Summers very well.
Yes, I've been speaking with him. I've emailed him a bunch of evidence, a bunch of statements, and what he tells me that he gets from it is basically, who did I piss off? That's it. And like I say, I'm just trying to coordinate something to get back in and get this conviction overturned. The Innocence Project of Texas told me that they couldn't help because of a lack of resources. The other Innocence Project, actual Innocence Clinic of Austin, it's been a year and I hadn't heard anything back from them.
The unfortunate thing for you, Lekeri, is that most of these innocent projects and stuff, they work with people. They've got their hands full trying to deal with guys that are in death row for 25 years, wrongfully convicted. Guys that are doing 40 years to life for crimes that they didn't commit. And I suppose unfairly, because yours hasn't resulted in a custodial sentence, it's just a real attack and butchery of your integrity and career. It's probably as not as high priority as what these other cases might be. But nonetheless, it's a wrongful conviction and definitely a wrongful verdict nonetheless, which needs pursuing, because you're quite right. And your mother was quite right. We never take credit for what we didn't do, and we will not accept to take blame for things that we didn't do. And you should be fighting this with every beat of your heart.
Yes,
how is your family We talked about your mother at the beginning. How has your mother reacted to her boy being dealt with in this way?
Well, I mean, she's devastated. They they all are. All my sisters and my brother, they're all devastated. But they also know the history of this area, this East Texas area. That what I'm going through is nothing new to anyone around here.
Yeah.
I mean, they do what they can. They're doing what they can to aid me, to keep me pushing, and trying to find different avenues to get this thing turned over.
Have you had opportunity to speak with your uncle and find out what went wrong between the first 2 days and the second 2 days? Have you managed to get any honesty out of him?
I have not. We've had several family gatherings, funerals, weddings, and every time he see me, he puts his head down. He will not talk to me about that. He may smile, shake my hand, but other than that, he will not talk. So that's another goal of mine, to actually get him to tell me what happened, what went wrong, what did he agree to, because it had to be something.
I would have to involve a senior member of the family to mediate and head this up. If they believe in you as much as it sounds like they do, they owe it to you to sit the two of you down and let's find out, because whatever it is that they might have had over him then, they can't still have over him now. If he wants to remain an active member of the family, he's got to stand up, because your reputation's at stake and your career's already almost in ruins.
Exactly.
You've already lost enough, and there comes a time where no matter how many times you spell it, a lie will never spell the truth.
Exactly.
A lie is a lie, and he's going to die with that. And does he really want to go down, that way with his family? Because it's got to be apparent and pretty clear to everybody that's got an ounce of common sense that he sold out somewhere along the line, and he sold you out.
Yep, that is exactly right. That is exactly my feelings to a T.
And that must be how other family members must think about it. So hiding behind family occasions where you just got to smile and look good can't be good enough all the time. And at some point, you've got to confront a senior member of your family and say, we need to do this. Because your case rests at the minute on what he agreed to sell you out for. Mm-hmm. If you can get to the bottom of why he sold you out, then you can start looking at overturning everything else that stands in that way.
Exactly. Me and my older sister and my older brother has been working on getting him, getting to a point to where we can get him here in town so we can have this conversation.
Yeah, again, as I said, I've been a family-minded person myself, because I've got a pretty tight, strong, and large family. If I was having that difficulty, I would ask one of the senior elders and respected members of the family to set that up, so that he couldn't get out of it, because for him to get out of it will be showing that there is something else going on that everybody else will see quite clearly, and he's not going to want to do that, because then that will ostracize him from the family and open up this window of opportunity for people to see him for what he did.
Exactly.
And he needs to find a way to make it right. And if making it right means that he sits down in a room and tells you why he sold you out, or what they had on him, if they had anything on him, because that might be the reason why he doesn't want to. Maybe he's done something untoward himself that they have on him. And they're so we don't know, but, it sounds for all intents and purposes that you've done as much as you can do to this point, and without something else being uncovered here, i.e. your uncle coming clean, in particular, I think that's going to be a very, a big move forward if we can get him to come clean. It'd have been lovely if we could have had him on the show where I could have cross-examined him myself, But I can hear quite distinctly, you haven't got to work any harder to impress me on your innocence. I believe 100% that you're an innocent man convicted wrongly. And I'm going to leave just a few of the last words to you. Where do we go from here? What can we as a people, what can we do to support you?
Well, I feel like, if I can speak with any lawyers, criminal lawyers who deal with this kind of thing, would be great. You could get me, I could get some kind of headway to my next move or what I need to do next. Just support, share this information, share my story, and let's make it big news. CNN, Fox News, let's make it there. I believe if you make wrongful convictions or anything uncomfortable, people are going to have to change. Something's going to have to change.
Absolutely. And have you considered getting involved in maybe one of your local newspapers or local TV stations on a lower scale? Because the big stations are probably too scared to come in, but the smaller stations, the smaller newspapers, the smaller organizations, they could do with these big stories, and that's some of the things that set them up for the future. So if I was you, I'd be pursuing these avenues, looking for a small documentary style program or a news bulletin, make my story heard and make sure it gets out there so that people start asking those questions again, and then as they start asking those questions again, and people might come forward and say, well, even including the young girl herself, the young lady herself, she may just eventually turn around and say, well, yeah, I lied. And they knew I lied, because somebody knows she lied.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Somebody knows she lied.
I've spoken with a couple of news stations here in Tyler, and what they told me is they basically have to have more evidence.
Right.
They can't sell a story only on one side.
I've got a couple of friends who are private detectives out your side. I'm going to try and have a quiet word with them over the next few days or so. And if I can get anybody interested, I'll put together a little group where we can start the conversation, the dialogue, and you can put it across to them. What I will be doing at the end of this show, at some point between tonight and tomorrow morning, I'll be downloading this show so you'll have this 2-hour rant and rendition of what we've been talking about available for you to be able to review, listen to, and put out there for others to hear also.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I deeply appreciate it.
Well, listen, Lekeri, it's been an absolute honor hearing your story. I think you're a great young man with huge potential in front of you. And if I could give you any advice right now, it'd be not to let these people, not to let these liars, not to let these masqueraders hold you back or put you down, but be confident and be bold in the young man that your mother's raised you to be. Be true to who you are and fight. Fight with everything that you've got, because the victory is already yours. Thank you so much. I did greatly appreciate it. Well, Kerry, for now, we're out of here. We're going to catch up. I'm hoping that we're now friends, and I'm hoping that we're going to continue to have this conversation outside of this show. And anything that we can do to support you and help move this thing forward, please don't hesitate to ask. And feel free to post any new information that comes up either on the Issues Today wall or even on my own wall, and we'll start sharing that news with you. Okay, I will do. Thank you so much. Well, listen, it's time for us to go. We're out of here. God bless, take care, and we'll speak again. All righty. Thank you, Lekeri. You're welcome.
World Jam Global Radio presents
All Because the Lady Loves.
Your World Jam DJs on the night will be Early B spinning the best in Future Grooves. Also, you'll have DJ Matt, DJ Laro from the original Emotion Sound. Also, Younger General from Black Mountain Sound. Performing on the night will be Camilla Marcel singing her new single, Life. Also, we have Sugar Ray performing his latest single, Shake It Down. There will be loads of giveaways on the night. Also, prizes for the best dressed couple, which will be judged by our professional photographer coming from Cool Vibes Studio. Prizes for the best romantic dancing couple on the night. Of course, we have our own judges, which will be the Dirty Rub-Up crew. We'll be checking that out, so look out for that one. On the 14th of February 2018 at the Junction House, 578 Kingston High Road, London, EA4AH. Tickets for this Valentine's affair is set at £20 for couples and £15 for singles. Tickets available at the following: 3Ws, worldjamglobal.com, located on the events page where you can click and purchase your tickets, or on the ticket hotline number of 07802 302450. You can also purchase tickets from any of the World Jam Global DJs performing on the night. Dressed to impress, professional photographers on site all night.
Because the lady loves.
World Jam Global Radio, this is Clarity. This is Clarity.
I already did my time. I paid for my crime. I already did my time. I paid for my crime.
Well, that was an absolutely intriguing story.
Did my time. I paid for my crime.
Like Carrie D. Bowie.
Did my time. I paid for my crime. I already did my time.
I'm really looking forward to keeping an eye on that story and see how that turns out. And you can do likewise too.
I didn't really care about the system. It was all about
man's life turned upside down.
Would die. I had too many rivals. I was too young and foolish to stay in school. I learned my lessons in the streets. There was not a man I couldn't beat. I was good with my hands and very quick on my feet. I was swimming in women. I had girls all over the street. I was getting money. Life was so sweet. Now things have changed. The whole game has been rearranged.
Don't forget, you can join me once again tomorrow morning for the Wake Up Everybody Sunday Gospel Show, where I do church before church till the hours of 8 and 10 GMT on World Jam Global Radio.
Already did my time. I paid for my crime. Already did my time. I paid for my crime. Already did my time. I paid for my crime. Already did my time. I paid for my crime. I was a drug dealer, sold more drugs than Superfly, but I never got high on my own supply. I'm not proud of what I had to do. That's why I'm telling my story to you and you. I had to repent. I must admit, I was doing all kind of stupid shit. Now sit back and think it over since I've gotten older. The life I used to live, I wouldn't do it again. I was young and dumb, my brain was so numb. I was a real Forrest Gump, but I was nobody's chump. Me and Billy the Kid had a lot in common. I was the real Terminator, much meaner than Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'd chew you up and spit you out like a real alligator, especially all you haters.
The opening statements are going on right now. He could be facing life in prison.
Already did my time, paid for my crime. Already did my time. Already did my time, paid for my crime. Already did my time. Pay for my crime, pay for my crime, pay for my crime, pay for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. I'm trying to get this felony off my back so I can get my life on track and have the right to vote and live like an ordinary citizen again. This is my message to all of my friends in the pen, statewide, worldwide. There was not a man I couldn't beat. I was good with my hands and very quick on my feet. I was swimming in women. I had girls all over the street. I was getting money. Life was so sweet. Now things have changed. The whole game has been rearranged. I'm a changed man, don't need no gun in my hand. It ain't about being no gangster. Life is too short to spend it all in jail. Trying to cope with this living hell. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. Already did my time, I paid for my crime. I was a drug dealer, sold more drugs than Superfly, but I never got high on my own supply. I'm not proud of what I had to do. 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 What I had to do what I have.